Across the Earth, there are mysteries that remain unsolved, structures that defy the limits of ancient engineering, maps that depict lands never officially discovered, and books written in languages no one can read. In this series, we'll explore artifacts and ruins that challenge the very narrative of human history. This is Unsolvable Relics, Part 1. Hidden within the Bekaa Valley of Lebanon lies a structure that defies the limits of ancient engineering, the megalithic ruins of Baalbek. Once known as Heliopolis during the Roman era, Baalbek houses what might be the most mysterious and awe-inspiring stones ever used in construction. At the heart of the site lies a platform built with stone blocks so massive they continue to baffle archaeologists to this day. The most famous of them, the Stone of the Pregnant Woman, weighs an estimated 1,000 tons. That's the equivalent of about 150 adult elephants. And yet, this isn't the only one. Several other megaliths, nearly as heavy, lie nearby. Some were used in the construction of the Temple of Jupiter. Others remain half-buried in nearby quarries, as if abandoned mid-process by workers who simply vanished. The question is, how? How could people over 2,000 years ago, without modern cranes, without steel or motorized tools, have carved, moved, and precisely placed these monoliths? Conventional historians suggest an extensive use of ropes, rollers, and slave labor. But even these explanations fall short when you calculate the logistics. Moving a 1,000-ton stone would require thousands of coordinated workers, perfect terrain, and precise timing. Any mistake, and the stone would shatter or sink irretrievably into the ground. Some researchers believe the platform predates Roman construction entirely, suggesting it may have belonged to a much older civilization with unknown capabilities. Others go further, proposing the involvement of forgotten technologies or even extraterrestrial intervention. Whether you believe in lost civilizations or simply the extraordinary will of ancient people, Baalbek's stones stand as silent giants, daring us to explain them. And so far, no one truly has. Are they relics of a forgotten era, or evidence that history is far more complex than we've ever imagined? In the year 1513, an Ottoman admiral named Piri Reis completed a world map that would go on to become one of the most puzzling artifacts in cartographic history. Drawn on a piece of gazelle skin, this map depicted the coastlines of Europe, North Africa, Brazil, and most controversially, what appears to be Antarctica, nearly 300 years before its official discovery. But not just any Antarctica, the landmass shown in the Piri Reis map appears to be free of ice, displaying river systems, mountain ranges, and coastlines that align eerily well with seismic surveys conducted in the 20th century beneath the continent's mile-thick ice sheet. This immediately raises questions. How could an admiral in the early 16th century, with no satellites or aerial view, chart a frozen continent that modern technology only began to understand in the 1950s? Piri Reis himself claimed that his map was not entirely his own creation. In the margin notes, he wrote that it was compiled from older source maps, some of which were said to date back to the time of Alexander the Great. These source maps are now lost to history. Skeptics argue that the landmass may be a misrepresentation, perhaps a distorted version of South America. But others point to the extreme precision of the coastlines, which include detailed latitudes, as evidence that Piri Reis, or whoever created the originals, had access to far more advanced geographical knowledge than history accounts for. Some theorists suggest the map is a surviving fragment of an ancient civilization, one capable of global exploration long before Columbus. Others, more speculative still, propose that it may have come from survivors of Atlantis, or from a lost age when Earth's poles were in different positions. Whether it's a misunderstood artifact or a window into a forgotten epoch, the Piri Reis map continues to ignite debates among historians, scientists, and mystery seekers alike. How much do we really know about the history of exploration? And what if we've only scratched the surface? Deep in southeastern Turkey, on a windswept hill near the Syrian border, lies a site that shattered our understanding of human history. It's called Göbekli Tepe, and it is believed to be the oldest known temple complex in the world, dating back over 12,000 years. That's 7,000 years older than the Great Pyramid of Giza, older than Stonehenge, older than the wheel, writing, or agriculture. At Göbekli Tepe, towering T-shaped stone pillars, some as tall as 20 feet and weighing up to 20 tons, form massive circular enclosures. Intricately carved with animals, symbols, and abstract patterns, they are a testament to a culture we know almost nothing about. What's truly astonishing is that this site was built before humans were believed to have settled into farming societies. At the time, humanity was still living as nomadic hunter-gatherers. No cities, no permanent homes. Yet somehow, they gathered here and built this. How? And more importantly, why? There's no evidence of domestic living at the site. No hearths, no dwellings, no burials. Many experts believe it was used for spiritual or religious purposes. A place of worship, a site for celestial observation, or perhaps a ceremonial center for early tribal gatherings. Even more baffling, sometime after centuries of use, Göbekli Tepe was intentionally buried under tons of soil. This act of deliberate entombment preserved it for millennia, but also raises an eerie question. What were they trying to hide or protect? Some fringe theorists suggest Göbekli Tepe may be a remnant of a forgotten civilization that survived the Younger Dryas cataclysm, a global event that caused sudden climate shifts around 10,800 BCE. Was this site a sanctuary? A message left behind for future generations? The truth is, we still don't know. Excavations have only revealed a fraction of the full site, perhaps just 5% of it. And yet, even that glimpse has been enough to rewrite textbooks. If our ancestors 12,000 years ago could build something this sophisticated, what else have we missed beneath the sands of time? Imagine holding a book in your hands, 448 pages long, filled with neatly written script, beautiful illustrations of wars, rituals, and religious scenes. And yet, not a single scholar on Earth has been able to read a word of it. This is the Rohank Codex, a mysterious manuscript discovered in Hungary in the early 19th century. Its origins are unknown, its author unidentified, and its language entirely undeciphered. The script itself contains over 700 unique symbols, far more than most known alphabets. It appears written right to left, like Arabic or Hebrew, but no known language matches its structure. The pages are filled with delicate line drawings depicting crucifixions, military processions, and scenes of what appears to be divine judgment. Imagery that blends Christian, pagan, and even Islamic elements in a way that defies categorization. Scholars, cryptographers, linguists, all have tried to decode the book. Some have proposed that it's written in an obscure dialect of Hungarian. Others believe it's a cipher hiding a deeper message. Some say it's an entirely invented language, and the book is a hoax. But here's the twist. No one has been able to prove the hoax theory either. The The structure of the text is far too complex and consistent to be a simple forgery. There are patterns, repetitions, and grammar-like rules, all suggesting a real language. Yet without a key, a Rosetta Stone, or a bilingual text to compare, we remain locked out. Some have even suggested that the codex is a remnant from a lost civilization, perhaps one that predated written history as we know it. Others theorize it may have been created as an elaborate spiritual exercise, like a sacred text meant to be understood only through divine insight. Today, the Rohank Codex rests in the Hungarian Academy of Sciences under lock and key, quietly mocking our inability to understand its secrets. What if the truth is buried in plain sight? What if this forgotten book contains knowledge we've lost, or were never meant to find? Deep within the rugged mountains of central China's Shanxi province, hidden behind layers of government restriction and silence, lies one of the most controversial structures in modern archaeology, the so-called White Pyramid of China. First reported in the 1940s by U.S. Air Force pilot James Gaussman, who was flying a reconnaissance mission over the region during World War II. As he passed over the Qinling Mountains, he claimed to have seen a gigantic, perfectly shaped white pyramid gleaming in the sunlight, far larger than anything he had seen before, even rivaling the Great Pyramid of Giza. A few years later, in 1947, another American pilot, Colonel Maurice Shahan, described seeing a similar structure. His account was published in the New York Times, along with a photograph, a grainy black and white image that seemed to show an enormous triangular mound surrounded by smaller ones. But then, silence. The Chinese government denied its existence. The region was restricted. Maps were altered. Western researchers were barred from the area for decades, and the pyramid, if it ever existed, vanished from public knowledge. Yet satellite imagery, examined by independent researchers, has revealed multiple pyramid-shaped mounds scattered across the region, many aligned with astronomical precision, similar to the layout of Egyptian pyramids. Some estimate the largest of these hidden pyramids could be as tall as 300 meters, nearly twice the height of the Great Pyramid of Giza. Officially, these are described as ancient burial mounds, tombs of early Chinese emperors from the Western Han or even pre-Qin dynasties. But few have ever been excavated, and those that have remain tightly controlled. Why the secrecy? Is it simply cultural preservation? Or is there something deeper, something China doesn't want the world to see? Some fringe theorists propose wild ideas: ancient alien contact, lost civilizations, or the remnants of a global prehistoric culture that spanned continents. Whatever the truth may be, the White Pyramid, whether myth or monumental reality, continues to cast a long, silent shadow over our understanding of ancient human achievement. And perhaps that's exactly how someone wants it. In 1992, in the quiet village of Xi'anbeikun in Zhejiang province, eastern China, a farmer decided to deepen a pond that had never dried, not even during the hottest summers. Expecting to find more water, he began to drain it, but instead, he discovered an entrance. What lay beneath was not a pond, but a vast hand-carved underground cavern. And it was just the beginning. Over the next few years, a total of 24 caves were discovered beneath the hills of Longyu, each one intricately chiseled out of solid siltstone, with perfectly flat walls, square corners, and spiral patterns etched uniformly across every surface. These weren't natural formations. They were massive, man-made structures, some as tall as 30 meters and covering thousands of square feet. the size of underground cathedrals. But here's the mystery. No one knows who built them. There are no records, no legends, no tools, no inscriptions, and no signs of construction. Despite the fact that creating these caves would have required removing over 1 million cubic meters of stone. That's the equivalent of hundreds of workers laboring for years, if not decades. The stone debris? Gone. Completely vanished. The reason for their creation? Unknown. There are no signs of living quarters, no tombs, no water storage, no religious iconography. The caves appear empty, as if waiting for something or someone. Adding to the enigma, the walls bear an odd, deliberate ripple pattern created by hand tools, so consistent that some believe it may have served acoustic or energetic purposes. Even today, scientists, engineers, and historians remain baffled. Were these caves ritualistic, military, a hidden city, or something more advanced? The Chinese government has done little to explore or explain the site. Some caves have been converted into tourist attractions, while others remain closed to the public. No one, local or foreign, has offered a conclusive explanation. In a land with one of the world's oldest continuous civilizations, how could such a colossal project be completely forgotten? Or perhaps it was meant to be. Narrator, reflective tone, building anticipation. From ancient megaliths to forgotten pyramids and underground worlds, the secrets of our past continue to hide just beneath the surface. But this is only the beginning. In the next episode, we'll unravel even deeper mysteries. From cursed coffins to vanished civilizations, from impossible artifacts to cities that sank beneath the sea. If you've enjoyed this journey into the unexplained, be sure to subscribe, like, and share. And remember, the past is never truly gone. It's just waiting to be rediscovered. In 2018, during a routine construction excavation in Alexandria, Egypt, archaeologists unearthed something unexpected. A massive, sealed black granite sarcophagus, untouched for over 2,000 years. Measuring nearly 9 feet long and weighing over 27 tons, the mysterious coffin sparked immediate speculation. Who was buried inside? A forgotten pharaoh? A cursed noble? Or worse, something far more ominous? The internet exploded with theories. Some warned it should never be opened. Others speculated it might contain a deadly ancient disease, or even the remains of Alexander the Great himself. After all, the tomb was found in the city that bore his name. When officials finally opened it, an overwhelming stench poured out. The result of sewage water that had seeped in and partially liquefied the remains inside. 3 skeletons were found, along with red-brown sludge. But the questions only grew. Who were these individuals? Why were they buried in such a grand, unmarked coffin? And why had no records ever mentioned such an elaborate burial? Despite testing, the identities of the 3 people, 2 men and 1 woman, remain unknown. They were not royalty, at least not officially. Yet the sarcophagus was extraordinarily crafted, suggesting someone of immense wealth or importance. Some suggested it was a mass burial during a time of plague or war. Others noted the skull damage on one skeleton and theorized a violent death. A few even claimed that the unusual mixture of bones and liquid hinted at ancient alchemical practices, or even ritual sacrifice. Perhaps most eerie of all was the discovery of a small gold-plated object resembling a miniature shrine, its purpose still unexplained. The black sarcophagus of Alexandria may not have unleashed a literal curse upon opening. but it certainly cracked open a doorway into the murky and often brutal world of ancient Egypt's forgotten elite. What secrets still lie buried beneath the cities we walk upon? And what if some coffins were sealed not to preserve, but to contain? It is called the Codex Gigas, or the Devil's Bible. A book so massive, it takes two people just to lift it. Bound in leather and metal, its pages stretch nearly 3 feet across when opened. But it's not just its size that has made it infamous. It's the legend behind it. According to 13th century lore, the Codex was written by a monk in a single night, with the help of Satan himself. The story goes like this. A monk, sentenced to death by being walled up alive, pleaded for mercy. He promised to create a book containing all human knowledge in just one night, to glorify his monastery and redeem himself. As the hours slipped away and failure became inevitable, he is said to have made a dark pact, invoking the devil to complete the task. And in the morning, the book was done. 320 pages of Latin text, including the Bible, medical writings, magical spells, calendars, and exorcism rituals. But most chilling of all is the full-page illustration of the devil himself. Red, clawed, crouching on a barren throne, staring out from the pages with haunting eyes. Historians estimate that a single scribe would need at least 20 years to write the Codex by hand. Yet the handwriting is shockingly consistent, suggesting it was written in a single flow by one person, without signs of aging, fatigue, or error. Was it truly a superhuman feat, or something inhuman? The manuscript also contains strange gaps, entire books of the Bible that are missing, replaced by unusual texts not typically found together. Some pages have signs of removal, perhaps to hide something. Others point to hidden codes, alignment of passages, or the possibility that the book itself is a grimoire in disguise. Today, the Codex Gigas is kept in the National Library of Sweden, behind protective glass. Visitors often report a feeling of unease when standing before it, as if the book is watching them. Whether the devil helped write it or not, the Codex Gigas remains a chilling testament to what happens when knowledge, ambition, and darkness intertwine. Long before Columbus arrived, before the rise of the Mayans or the great cities of the Southwest, there was the Clovis culture. For decades, archaeologists believed the Clovis people were the first humans to inhabit North America, dating back over 13,000 years. Their signature? The Clovis point, a finely crafted, fluted stone spearhead. These tools have been found scattered across the continent, from Montana to Florida, and as far south as Venezuela. They were skilled hunters, even capable of taking down mammoths, bison, and other Ice Age giants. But then, around 10,800 BCE, they vanished. No signs of war, no clear migration trails, no written records, of course, but more puzzlingly, no direct descendants. Later, Native American cultures did not use Clovis tools. It's as if the Clovis people were erased from the timeline. What could have caused such a sudden and total disappearance? One theory centers on the Younger Dryas impact hypothesis, a proposed cosmic event in which a comet or meteor struck Earth, triggering massive wildfires, climate collapse, and a sudden return to glacial conditions. Geological layers across North America show evidence: melted glass, nanodiamonds, and iridium, all markers of an extraterrestrial impact. If the Clovis people were thriving across a vast range, a sudden environmental cataclysm could have devastated food supplies and ecosystems overnight. But not everyone agrees. Some scholars argue the Clovis were merely replaced by regional cultures, absorbed over time, or outcompeted by others with better adapted tools. Yet, the archaeological silence following their disappearance is deafening. It's not just that their culture faded, it's that it did so without leaving a trace of evolution. No transitional tools, no hybrid settlements, just silence. Some even suggest they were a separate migration wave, a unique group that arrived by land or sea, developed rapidly, and died out under forces we still don't fully understand. Whatever the truth, the mystery of the Clovis people reminds us that even entire civilizations can vanish, not with a bang, but with a whisper. And the bones of that mystery still lie buried beneath the soil of a continent. Deep in the jungles and valleys of southern Costa Rica, scattered across fields and forests, lie hundreds of enormous stone spheres, some weighing up to 15 tons, others as small as a soccer ball. What unites them is not their size, but their incredible precision. They are near-perfect spheres, carved from solid stone, smooth and symmetrical to a degree that would challenge even modern tools. They are called las bolas, the balls. First uncovered by workers in the 1930s clearing land for a banana plantation, these stone spheres quickly attracted international attention and confusion. Who made them? How were they shaped so perfectly? Without metal tools, without modern machines. And why? Most of the spheres are made from granodiorite, a very hard volcanic rock not commonly found nearby. Some had to be transported over 50 miles from the nearest source. Yet the people who crafted them left behind no written language, no carvings, no records, only the stones themselves. Some of the spheres were found in geometric arrangements, lines, triangles, even astronomical alignments. Others were buried underground, hidden intentionally. Local legends speak of the spheres being connected to the gods or guarding hidden treasures. When the first spheres were discovered, treasure hunters blew some of them open with dynamite, only to find solid stone. Archaeologists have tentatively linked the stones to the Dikis culture, which thrived between 700 and 1500 CE. But the methods they used, the purpose of the spheres, and the reason for their incredible craftsmanship all remain speculative. Were they symbols of power, astronomical tools, boundary markers, or something more symbolic, connecting the heavens and the earth? Some fringe theorists have even suggested extraterrestrial influence or energy manipulation tools, citing their strange placements and unnatural perfection. Today, many of the spheres have been moved from their original locations, placed in museums or displayed in cities. But that displacement only deepens the mystery. We may never know what they were meant to represent, because the context is lost. What remains is a riddle carved in stone, a message from a culture long gone, still waiting to be understood. Along the southeastern coast of India, near the town of Mahabalipuram, stands a magnificent stone temple known as the Shore Temple. Built over 1,000 years ago by the Pallava dynasty, it faces the Bay of Bengal, proud, stoic, and alone. But according to legend, it was once merely the last of 7 temples, the remaining 6 swallowed by the sea. Locals have told the story for centuries, that the gods, jealous of human achievement, sent a massive flood to bury 6 of the temples forever, leaving only one above the waves as a warning. For generations, historians dismissed it as a myth, poetic perhaps, but nothing more. Then came the tsunami. In December 2004, A massive undersea earthquake sent devastating waves across the Indian Ocean. Mahabalipuram was struck, but after the water receded, something remarkable happened. The ocean pulled back farther than anyone had seen in generations, revealing ancient stone walls, sculptures, and foundations previously hidden beneath the sand and sea. Locals watched in awe as parts of a long-forgotten complex emerged, confirming that perhaps the legend wasn't just a story, it was a memory. Subsequent underwater surveys by the Indian Navy and archaeologists found submerged structures aligned with the existing shore temple, including rectangular formations and ornate carvings at depths of 5 to 10 meters. These findings strongly suggest that an entire temple complex may have once stood along this coast, before rising sea levels or a sudden cataclysm took them under. Who built the original temples, and when? Some speculate that these submerged ruins could predate the Pallavas, possibly remnants of a far older civilization lost to time. The site has since drawn comparisons to Atlantis, and to other submerged ruins like Yonaguni in Japan, or the sunken city off the coast of Cuba. If the sea holds one temple, might it still hold 6 more? And if legends can hold truth, what other ancient myths are simply waiting for the tide to turn? Today, if you sail the waters between the United Kingdom and mainland Europe, you'll cross the North Sea, deep, cold, and gray. But thousands of years ago, that sea was not a sea at all. It was a land, vast, fertile, and full of life. A place now called Doggerland. Spanning from the east coast of Britain to the Netherlands, Germany, and Denmark, Doggerland was a stretch of plains, marshes, rivers, and forests. Home to hunter-gatherers, woolly mammoths, and saber-toothed cats. It was, quite literally, the heart of Mesolithic Europe. But as the last ice age ended, glaciers melted and sea levels rose. Slowly at first, then suddenly. Around 8,000 years ago, a massive underwater landslide known as the Storegga Slide triggered a towering tsunami, sweeping across the region. Within hours, much of Doggerland was underwater, and within generations, it had vanished from memory. For centuries, no one suspected what lay beneath the waves. But in recent decades, fishermen began pulling strange artifacts from the seafloor. Flint tools, spearheads, bones of aurochs and humans. Clear signs of a vanished world. Using seismic scans and underwater surveys, scientists have mapped ancient river valleys, hills, and coastlines beneath the sediment. The landscape is so well preserved, it's been called Europe's Atlantis. But unlike Atlantis, Doggerland is not a myth. It was real. People lived, loved, and died there. Entire communities may have watched as their lands were swallowed by the sea, forced to migrate or perish. Some researchers believe the trauma of Doggerland's flooding may even have influenced the flood myths found in cultures across Europe and the Near East, ancient echoes of a real, shared catastrophe. And as sea levels continue to rise in our own time, Doggerland becomes a haunting mirror, a reminder of how fragile human civilization can be in the face of Earth's shifting tides. Buried beneath layers of sand and silt, the lost land waits. Not forgotten, just submerged. From cursed coffins to sunken continents, the deeper we dig into the past, the more we uncover just how little we truly know. In the next episode, we'll explore impossible artifacts, unfinished monuments, and the ancient machines that may rewrite everything we thought we understood about history. Subscribe, share, and stay curious, because the greatest mysteries are still waiting to be uncovered. In 1957, An amateur archaeologist named Guy Melgren was digging at a Native American site called Goddard Point, along the coast of Maine. Among pottery shards and tools, he found something completely out of place: a small, weathered silver coin. But this wasn't just any coin. Experts identified it as a Norse silver penny, minted during the reign of King Olaf III of Norway, somewhere between 1065 and 1080 AD, a 1,000-year-old Viking coin, found in coastal New England. The implications were explosive. Until then, the only confirmed Viking presence in North America was L'Anse aux Meadows in Newfoundland, Canada, nearly 1,000 kilometers to the northeast. Could Vikings have traveled farther inland, trading with Native American tribes, or even settling along the East Coast? Skeptics were quick to cast doubt. Some claimed the coin was planted or somehow transported by collectors. But extensive studies of the site and the context in which the coin was found supported its authenticity. The soil was undisturbed, and the other artifacts were consistent with 12th century indigenous materials. How did it get there? One theory suggests that the coin may have been part of an ancient trade network, passed from hand to hand over generations, eventually making its way deep into the interior of the continent. Another possibility is that Norse explorers traveled farther than we thought, moving south from Newfoundland, following the coastline, and quietly interacting with local peoples. There are even Norse sagas that describe distant lands called Vinland, Markland, and Helluland, places rich in forests, grapes, and flatlands. Could Maine have been one of these? The Maine penny remains the only pre-Columbian Norse artifact ever found in the United States, a lone clue to a potentially forgotten chapter in American history. Is it evidence of a brief encounter, a lost expedition? Or is it just the beginning of a larger story, waiting to be unearthed? In the scorching granite quarries of Aswan, Egypt, lies something truly extraordinary. Not a monument standing tall, but one that was never completed. It's called the Unfinished Obelisk, and had it been finished, it would have been the largest stone monument ever created by humans. Carved directly out of solid bedrock, the obelisk measures 42 meters long and weighs an estimated 1,200 tons, more than 2 fully loaded Boeing 747s. Its creation likely began during the reign of Queen Hatshepsut, around 1500 BCE, but somewhere during its construction, the project was abruptly abandoned. Why? A massive crack had formed near the base, rendering it structurally unstable. So the workers stopped, leaving behind a priceless glimpse into the process of ancient megalithic engineering. Today, you can still see tool marks etched into the stone walls of the trench around the obelisk, clear evidence of the techniques used to carve it out. But here's the real mystery. How did they intend to move it? The ancient Egyptians had no cranes, no wheels strong enough for such weight. And yet they routinely transported granite blocks weighing hundreds of tons, sometimes across hundreds of kilometers. Was it manpower, lubricated sleds, clever use of levers and sand? All of these have been proposed, yet none fully account for the scale and precision seen here. The unfinished obelisk raises deeper questions. If this was just one of their projects, how many other megastructures have we underestimated? What technologies or knowledge might they have possessed that we've long forgotten? Some theorists point to lost construction techniques, or even suggest that the ancient Egyptians inherited their knowledge from a civilization even older, whose traces have since eroded from the record. Whatever the truth may be, the unfinished obelisk stands, or rather lies, as a silent reminder that sometimes The greatest mysteries are not what we built, but what we failed to finish. In 1952, deep within the caves of Qumran, near the shores of the Dead Sea, archaeologists discovered something different. Among the fragile parchments of the Dead Sea Scrolls, filled with religious writings, biblical commentary, and apocalyptic prophecy, lay a scroll made entirely of copper. Unlike the others, this scroll wasn't spiritual or poetic. It was logistical, a list of 64 hidden treasures, buried in specific locations across ancient Judea. It reads like a shopping list of kings. In the ruin of the valley of Achor, under the steps, 40 talents of silver. In the funeral shrine, in the third platform, 65 bars of gold. Altogether, the copper scroll describes over 4,600 pounds of gold and silver buried in secret caches, and yet, not a single one has ever been found. The scroll's language is unusual even for its time, a strange mix of Hebrew and Aramaic, written in a dry, coded tone, as if meant only for insiders. Some scholars believe it was created by members of the Essenes, the sect responsible for the Dead Sea Scrolls. Others think it may have been compiled by priests from the Second Temple, hiding sacred treasures before the Roman invasion in 70 CE. But the biggest challenge lies in decoding the locations. Place names are vague, sometimes metaphorical. Structures it references, some pillars, cisterns, tombs, have long since vanished, buried beneath centuries of shifting earth and rewritten maps. Countless treasure hunters have tried. Some have spent their lives following the clues, searching caves, ruins, and deserts. Some claim to have found minor items, but the main hoard remains hidden, if it ever existed at all. Could it be a decoy? A trap? A spiritual metaphor mistaken for reality? Or is it real? Could there still be tons of ancient treasure buried beneath Israel, waiting for the right person to break the code? The Copper Scroll is either the world's oldest unsolved treasure map or the world's most elaborate riddle. Over 4,000 years ago, along the banks of the Indus River in what is now Pakistan and northwest India, flourished one of the most advanced civilizations of the ancient world. The Indus Valley Civilization, also known as Harappan Civilization, was home to more than 5 million people, living in well-planned cities like Mohenjo-Daro and Harappa. They built with uniform bricks, had grid-style streets, covered drainage systems, public baths, granaries, and even evidence of early dental surgery. While the Egyptians were building pyramids for their dead, the Indus people were building cities for the living. And then, sometime around 1900 BCE, it all began to unravel. Within just a few centuries, the bustling cities were abandoned. The writing system, never fully deciphered, vanished. Trade networks collapsed. The culture faded from history. What happened? There are no signs of invasion, no mass graves, no evidence of widespread famine or plague. The collapse of the Indus Valley Civilization remains one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in archaeology. Some researchers point to climate change, a gradual shift in monsoon patterns that dried up rivers, including the once mighty Sarasvati, turning fertile plains into deserts. Others suggest tectonic activity may have diverted water sources, crippling agriculture and forcing mass migration. Yet despite its size and sophistication, the Indus people left no grand monuments, no epic texts, no military conquests, only ruins, tools, and thousands of clay seals covered in an undeciphered script. Perhaps their society functioned on entirely different values, more egalitarian, less focused on kings or gods. If so, its quiet disappearance might reflect a quiet existence. But the mystery lingers. How could a civilization so large, so complex, vanish so completely? Did they migrate and merge into later cultures? Did they know the end was coming? Or are the answers still buried beneath the sands, waiting to be unearthed? In the silence of their forgotten cities, the Indus people whisper still, not through words, but through bricks, layouts, and questions we may never fully answer. In 1901, sponge divers off the coast of Antikythera, a small Greek island, discovered a sunken Roman shipwreck. Among the statues, pottery, and debris, they recovered a corroded bronze lump, no larger than a shoebox. At first glance, it looked unremarkable, just rusted metal fused with time. But under closer inspection, it revealed something incredible. Inside were gears, interlocking bronze gears, dozens of them, arranged in a complex system unlike anything ever seen from the ancient world. This was the Antikythera mechanism, and it would come to be known as the world's first analog computer. Dated to around 100 BCE, the device was used to predict astronomical positions decades in advance. It could model the motion of the sun and moon, forecast eclipses, and even track the timing of the ancient Olympic Games. The mechanism included differential gearing, a feature thought to have been invented in the 16th century. Some gears had teeth just 1 millimeter wide, crafted with such precision that they rival modern engineering. How was this possible? Nothing like it appears in the historical record until over 1,000 years later. It was as if the knowledge required to build the Antikythera mechanism appeared suddenly and then vanished. Was this a unique masterpiece, or part of a wider, now lost tradition of ancient mechanical science? The Greek mathematician Hipparchus, and later Ptolemy, described complex planetary models, but no surviving devices. Could it be that this was just one of many? Or worse, the last? CT scans and 3D reconstructions have helped decode parts of the mechanism, revealing inscriptions, astronomical dials, and calendar systems based on Babylonian cycles. Yet nearly a third of the original device is missing. The functions of some dials remain unknown, and so we're left with a paradox. A technology too advanced for its time, made by people we thought lacked the tools to create it. The Antikythera mechanism challenges more than just our timeline. It challenges our assumptions about what ancient minds were truly capable of. In the legends of the Aztec people, there is a place of origin, a land of 7 caves, surrounded by water, lush with birds, flowers, and sacred knowledge. A place they called Aztlan. From this mystical homeland, the ancestors of the Aztecs are said to have journeyed south, guided by omens and gods, until they arrived in the Valley of Mexico. There they founded the city of Tenochtitlan and built an empire. But what of Aztlan? Was it only a metaphor? A mythical Eden symbolizing spiritual beginnings? Or was it a real place now lost to time? Descriptions in Nahuatl codices place Aztlan to the north, near water, possibly an island. The name itself means place of whiteness or place of herons, a serene paradise before the rise of cities and conquest. Some historians believe Aztlan could be traced to the American Southwest, perhaps in what is now New Mexico, Arizona, or even Utah. Petroglyphs, oral traditions, and ruins suggest long migrations from that region into central Mexico over centuries. Others point to northern Mexico, particularly around the state of Nayarit, where lakes, mountains, and cave systems match aspects of the myth. And then there are more speculative theories. that Aztlan was a real city, destroyed in a flood or buried by disaster, a kind of Mesoamerican Atlantis, or that it lies beneath modern cities, waiting to be unearthed beneath layers of concrete and time. The journey from Aztlan is more than a migration. It's a sacred pilgrimage. The Aztecs believed they were fulfilling divine prophecy, destined to find an eagle eating a snake upon a cactus, the sign to build their capital. But if Aztlan was real, its rediscovery could rewrite the origins of one of the most influential civilizations in the Americas. To this day, no confirmed archaeological site has matched Aztlan's full description, and so it lingers in both legend and landscape, a homeland remembered by its descendants, but still missing from the map. From ancient computers to lost cities, every discovery opens another door and another question. In the next episode, we'll descend even deeper to cursed temples, forbidden libraries, and artifacts too strange to explain. Subscribe, share, and keep your mind open, because history is far from settled.